Right. So last time we did writing and listening, right? Today we are going to do speaking. Can you see that?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So this is the last part of the skills of the language. We covered reading, then we did writing, then listening. Now the last one is speaking. So unit 8, speaking. What is speaking? Definition is all the same. Like you might have seen the definition in this way for all. Speaking is one of the 4 language skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Speaking and writing are productive skills. On the other hand, reading and listening are receptive skills. That means that unlike listening and reading, they involve producing language rather than receiving it. Very simply, we can say that speaking involves using speech to communicate meanings to other people. In this unit, we look at how we do this. So, as you can see, obviously, in the speaking, listening is integrated skill with that, because somebody will say and you have to listen. So like if you see in the listening part, we were discussing about the written language and spoken language. So what you people have to do to prepare it, all these 4 skills you have to see, and you have to segregate it in the receptive skills and productive skills and make your notes accordingly. Plus, what important point in it is what kind of activities and tasks are done in the classroom to practice these skills and to teach these skills, what type of activities we do. So those lists you have to make according to the skills. For the reading, and then if you see reading and listening, almost the same sub-skills are there. Only the change happens there. We do listening for guest and reading for guest, or listening for specific information or reading for specific information. So the means are changing, but the skills remain same. When we come to writing, in the writing, there are 2 skills we discuss. Sub-skills are what? One is, anybody remembers that? One, there are 2. Can somebody give me the reference?
Accuracy and communication.
Well done. One is accuracy, other is communication. So in accuracy, we check a lot of things like grammar, punctuation, sentences building up how it is, spelling is how, right? Likewise, grammatical point of view, how we form up the sentences, subject, verbs, agreement, all these things are checking the accuracy. But when we come to communication, then what we say, it might be correct grammatically, but does it make any sense to the listener? Or the listener is confused about what we say, right? So that we say in the writing, communication is, and I gave you the example, sometimes the student have written an essay. So grammatical point of view, everything will be perfect, but you can't make any sense of it. That what is this student talking about? The relevance to the topic on which they are writing, relevance to the topic will not be there. So that is the communication part. So 2 things we check in it, right? Further details of those 2 things You can go through that and make your notes. And along with that is the activities in the classroom, how we do with the students in order to improve these skills. Those things are must, and that's the area you will be tested in. I always tell you, check your glossary. Glossary is Bible to the TKT. That much important it is. Terms, definitions, everything is given with the short examples, so you can have a good idea in concise way, in a summarized way, you get a good idea of the topic, okay? And if there is something, after looking into the glossary also, it is confusing for you, then you put it to me, I would like to, and try to clear it up. So that is how you have to go on with these skills, but try to read and understand all these four skills together, okay, and make a sense out of it. That's why there is only one worksheet which I will send you today once we finish it. Right, so key concept. Tick the things on the list which we often do when we speak. So take a minute and go through these 20 things they have mentioned, and you just see what are the things which we often do when we speak out of it. Can you go through that and let me know if there is something which we do not do? Take a minute. Did you go through that? I don't know what has happened to my screen. I can't see you people at all. So only my screen is visible there. Maybe something wrong with my adjustments. Right. I hope you have gone through that. So see what they say over here. When we speak, we usually do all these things, except we don't usually plan what we will say. Because when we talk, we just respond to somebody. If asked something, we respond to that. So we usually don't plan. Only a certain time, there are certain things which we plan. Nor do we use language completely accurately. In the spoken way, we don't use accurate language. For example, use correct forms of grammar and vocabulary, as we saw in Unit 7, listening. Pressure of time does not allow us to do these things when speaking. Because while we speak, it's not only that we perform the words, we have our facial expressions, we have our body language, we have gesture we are making, right? So all these things, plus visually, when the person see the situation, most of the things are clear out of it. So we need not to explain each and everything the way we do in the writing. Sometimes somebody asks you something and you just shrug your shoulders like this, and without saying anything, your answer is clear to the person, right? So that's why sometimes people are mistaken. They say we don't need grammar when we speak. In one way, it is correct. But actually, if you see, whatever we say, it's not out of the grammar. Even if it is a one word, it is in the grammar. Parts of speech, you check it, right? So the only difference is when we speak, our gesture, facial expression, our body language, the situation in which we are, all these things help the other person to understand what we are going to say. Our facial expression tells the answer clearly, you know. Sometimes you just smile on something, that is an answer in it, right? So further what they say, unless we make prepared speeches or presentation. So if we are going to have deliver a speech, we are saying something at occasion, we prepare that. What are the points need to be covered, how to say it, the language of it, all that we prepared, because it's a formal situation. And presentations, there also we use and we prepare it, the language, what kind of expression should be there, what kind of thing need to be added in it. So those sort of things when we do in while speaking, we prepare those things. Other than that, we usually in the social life, we do not prepare, like if somebody asks you something, you know, so you are not writing there and after that, okay, then I'm going to answer, yes, I would like to say this. We don't talk like that. Otherwise you can't go on with the conversation. So spontaneously we respond to the things asked from us, and that's how the conversations goes on. So we do not plan it much, unless if it's a presentation or the formal occasion where we have to say something on that occasion. You can see from this list that speaking involves several sub-skills. Now this is the point which you need to note it down, sub-skills of the speaking. Making use of grammar, vocabulary, and function. These three things we discussed in the beginning, grammar, vocabulary, and function, all these things are involved in speaking. Right. Next one is making use of register to speak appropriately. Is it formal or informal way? What we say. So register, should we use formally register or informally? Right? Using feature of connected speech, which we discuss in the listening, and it will come here also on the next page. Connected speech, when we say something, there are different things involved in it, which I told you, I hope you have noted down the connected speech features. Pace is there, pronunciation, punctuation is there, where we stress the sentence, the words, all these things are included in that, okay? Using body language, that is also part of the speaking. Producing different text type, what we are saying, is it something greeting or is it something inviting somebody? Okay, different text type we are using. Oral fluency, speaking at a normal speed with the little hesitation, repetition or self-correction, and with smooth use of connected speech. This is called oral fluency. All these things when we say somebody is fluent in speaking, so they avoid hesitation, they don't repeat the sentences, they don't self-correct, they say something and they do the correction, okay? So all these things, when it is avoided, fluency, we say fluency is there in the speaking. Next one is using interactive strategies. What is interactive strategies? Ways of keeping people interested and involved in what we are saying. Interactive strategies, you know, some people, they are very, it is very fun to listen to them. You feel good, especially the anchors, the presenters, they have specially developed these skills of interactive strategies, how to keep the audience involved and interested, okay? So they crack jokes also in between, they give different kind of examples also. Interactive strategies are very much important for the teachers also. Like always, you can't be like a computer telling the things. No, you have to change the expressions. You have to involve that your body language in it, you know. So likewise, you take the attention of the student, and if your delivery of the lecture or the teaching is kind of one way coming, like some people, they have one way, then the student get bored with that. So interactive strategies are very important, even in the social life. If you see interactive strategies, sometimes you like to hear some people when they are talking, but there are people you can't bear them a lot when they start speaking, okay, because it's their way of speaking is boring. Their selection of the words and expressions are not there, and seems to be like, you know, kind of very formal, or like, you know, so that kind of people you might have come across. Sometimes people, they don't have proper words to use there, okay. So sometimes you like to listen to some of the people. Naturally, they got interactive strategy in their way of speaking. So interactive strategies are also important part of the speaking. Let's go ahead a little bit. Are these points clear to you?
Okay.
Yeah, I can't see your thumbs also today, because on my screen, as I'm sharing with you, you can see that the list is not there. I don't know what happened. Right. Usually I can see your names over there. Right. So the next one is, our purpose in speaking is to communicate meaning, and we do all these things to achieve this. Now, what's the purpose? The purpose of speaking is communication. What I'm saying, the next person can understand. What that person says, I can understand that. So communication is the thing which we want to achieve while we speak. We can see that speaking involves a lot of more than just using grammar and vocabulary accurately in speech. So it's not only necessary that you need to use accurately the grammar and vocabulary, but a lot of other things are there which you need to involve in that. When we speak, we constantly have in mind that the person we are speaking to and our wish to communicate our meaning successfully. Let's see on the next page. To communicate to them. We use interactive strategy to help us achieve this. When we speak, we talk to someone, then we involve interactive strategies. Now they are going to tell you about it, interactive strategies. What are the things in it? These include using body language, such as gestures, eye contact, facial expressions, and movement of to put our message across more strongly and clearly, and functions such as clarifying our meaning. So you see, when we want to say something, so we use all these body language, facial expression and all that, and eyebrows go up and the eyes sometimes comes out when we want to you know, more emphasize on something. And these are the things which makes these interactive strategies of a speech more effective. And some people, they especially, they get training for that. How to involve your body language while you are speaking. This Toastmaster and all that, they teach those kind of things, you know, professional speaking, when they, how do you involve effectively your body and facial expressions and your gesture in it. Right. Then we say clarifying the things, like we use, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, this sort of fillers and phrases you are putting there, asking for opinions, like, what do you think? All right. Agreeing, like, yes, that's right, to keep in interaction going and check that it is successful. So all these strategies we adopt, and we talk like that. Turn taking is another interactive strategy we use. Turn taking is important when we do the Cambridge test. And the Cambridge test, like, you know, in that all the 4 skills are tested: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So when we check the speaking abilities of the student, There are different areas we check. And then one of them is turn taking. Like two students come for doing the speaking test. And when they start discussing different things, there are two examiners. So one is just giving the marks according to what they say, and the other one is asking questions. Turn taking is an important thing in it. Like, for example, I put my point there, and then am I asking in appropriate way from the other partner that what's his point of view about it? How I'm giving the chance to the other person to speak, how I end up my opinion and I let the other two get involved in it. These things are part of the Cambridge speaking test, and which that's why they have written in the bold letters. Turn taking is another interactive strategy we use. It involves using intonation, language or body language to show you want to join a conversation or end one. Body language, and this show that when you want to continue with the conversation, you want to join in conversation with someone, or you want to just end it up and go ahead. So all these things are in the turn taking. It is. We use it to make sure we get our message across. Paraphrasing can also be thought of as an interactive strategy. We paraphrase when we judge our communication cannot be or has not been understood. So we do paraphrasing. What we do in that, we use other words to say the same thing in order to get our message across. Paraphrasing usually we do when your teachers are doing that mostly. When the student, they cannot get your point, so then you use different other words to convey the same message across. Like you say, okay, let's see, take this example. Then you say in a different way. Or, okay, let me put it like this. So then you change the words, saying the same thing. That is called paraphrasing. It's also part of the interactive strategies which we adopt. Next is, are those points clear to you? Morita?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bandara?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, now I can't see the name list, but whoever's name I remember, I will call them. Right. So speaking also involves making use of all the features of connected speech to convey a message. Now, connected speech, we talk on the previous page and we discussed that in the listening part as well. Note it down here, what we do, what are the things involved in connected speech? We use intonation, word and sentence stress, accurate individual sounds, linking and contractions to help convey our meaning. All these things are in the connected speech. Fluency, accuracy, and appropriacy also play a major part in successful oral communication. These three things are very major role have in the communication. What is what? Number one, fluency. Two, accuracy. Three, appropriacy. Appropriacy, go back to the function unit, appropriacy of the language we have discussed there. According to the situation, you are using the suitable expression and language, right? Fluency helps ensure that our listener will keep on listening to us without getting bored or irritated by too many hesitation or too slow a pace of speaking. So fluency is like whether you have the control of the language. You, according to the situation, you can step up your speaking pace, or you can slow down when it is needed to be more a complicated kind of thing which you want to put forward. So you get slow on that, right? So those things are like you can control your language. Fluency is there in it. And you don't do hesitations in that, you don't do self-correction in it, okay? That is part of that. When you are fluent, you avoid these hesitation and self-correction. And when you do that a lot, so the listener, they get bored with that. Next is accuracy of grammar. Use of vocabulary and the production of sound help keep our message clear. And appropriacy is another way of keeping our listeners involved. All right. So appropriacy and accuracy. Accuracy, as we know, whenever we are focusing on the grammatical structure of the sentences or the dialogues, that comes in accuracy. The other, when appropriacy is another way of keeping our listeners involved. Like you are using the language which is suitable for that particular situation. Right. We use right register to treat our listener with appropriate degree of formality or informality in order not to upset them or make them feel uncomfortable. So when a situation is there, you are using kind of like, very much formal language, where you're supposed to be like easy and relaxed kind of conversation should go on. So the person who was expecting like easy and relaxed conversation and you are going on with the formal way, then it becomes like uncomfortable with the other person. And if there are like, situation, for example, in the meetings and official meeting and all that, and you are there and you are expected to express your opinion in a formal way, and there you are making funny way, then it's also inappropriate. Okay, so formality and informality is also part of it, which comes in the appropriacy of the language. Right. Is these three things are clear? Fluency, accuracy, and appropriacy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dimasha was also there. Amali was
Yes.
also there. Is that clear to you people?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Dimasha,
Yes, sir, it's clear.
that the name I'm reminding myself. Amali, Ashini, Fernando also is there, right? I hope it is clear to you. Because today I can't see the thumbs. So I have to interact with you. And it's better, it's according to the situation, today's speaking topic and we are interacting. Right, so let's see what they say further. Finally, as with other language skills, speaking also involves being able to deal with different text types. For example, taking part in conversations, discussion or telephone calls, giving presentations, telling stories. All these text types have different features. Buying sweets in a shop, for example, involves different speaking skills for telling your friends about the exciting thing that happened to you at the weekend, or presenting the result of a project work to classmates. They involve using different function, different levels of formality, different amounts of speaking, different amounts of interaction, different structures and vocabulary. There are many aspects of speaking for learners to learn. We can see that as with the other language skills, speaking is a simply complex activity. Now, if you see, compared to reading, writing and listening, speaking is a very complex, isn't it? So many things are involved in it. But as a matter of fact, if you see in our English classes, so spoken one is just, okay, they start speaking. Okay, practice that. Otherwise, there are a lot of things, and especially when we do the Cambridge exam test for the spoken one, there are a lot of things that checked in that, So those practices are also done with the student to enhance their ability of expressing themselves in different ways, right? So if you compare speaking scale with the rest, so it has a lot, many things there which are involved in it. Now we will go to the classroom. and see what we can do in classroom to do the speaking. Speaking involves range of different subskills, as we discussed it above. Learners can benefit from practice in each of these to develop their speaking. We can help our learners get this practice by focusing regularly on particular aspect of speaking. Fluency, pronunciation, register, grammatical accuracy, body language, interactive strategies, interactive speaking. What's that? Conversation and discussion, speaking at length, e.g. presentation, giving points of view, etc. So these many things are there which are involved as a sub-skills of the speaking. Like there is no one thing, so many things are there, and you need to make the list of it in order to keep in mind, and then you have to see what type of activities are there to practice these ones, okay? Let's see further. Second point, in many classroom control practice activities. Note it down. It will be very much discussed in the coming topics. Control practice activities. Activities in which the learners are required to repeatedly use the language that they have just been taught. Do you understand this definition? Modita?
Yes, sir. I understood.
Modita, it's a bad time for you because your name is coming quickly to my mind. All right. So in one way, it's if you are active, then it is good. If you are not active about listening here, then it will be a kind of, oh, what do you say in Sinhala Kardara kind of for you. Yes. Are you getting this point? Control practice activity. Anyone of you? Definition. Can you give me an example? Are you doing that in the classes?
Like tongue twister?
Mm-hmm.
No?
Tongue twister is fluency practice. Pronunciation and fluency. Tongue twister you are doing?
Yes.
Well done. I hardly can see any teacher because in my experience over here, yeah, when I was giving tongue twister to the student, but hardly I could see that the teachers are giving tongue twister. Some of the teachers, they don't know even tongue twisters are needed. Right. So, but tongue twister is not controlled practice.
I also do in my class. I'm Dayani.
Dayani, well done, Dayani.
Yeah, I'm also doing, yeah.
Okay, and you practice. Yeah. I like tongue twister because it's give you a nice practice, you know. It's a kind of net practice of the, like the cricketers, they are doing net practice. You got it? So the same way the language fluency net practice is tongue twister. Yes. And what's your favorite tongue twister?
The simplest tongue twister is the black cat caught a fat rat on the bed. That is the simplest.
No, your favorite.
Yeah. She sells. She sells on the seashore.
Yeah. Okay. Dayani, what's your favorite one?
Sir?
What's your favorite tongue twister?
Yeah, that's my.
Okay. My one is how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would. I like this woodchuck kind of thing.
So what about that? Betty bought some butter.
Yeah, but it is twisting more your tongue, you know.
Bought some butter, but the butter was big.
And when you are speaking that in American way, then American they are pronouncing double T as a D sound.
Butter.
Then it is butter they say, you know. So like little they say little. So if American way you are going to twist it, then God bless. Right? And that's what is the problem with American. We cannot understand them well. Oh, one question comes in my mind over here. In Sri Lanka, which English we are following? American or British?
Mixed, I think.
British.
British? Mr.
Sometimes
Bandara,
both.
you are saying mix.
Yeah. Sometimes mixer. Some.
Now we can hear, sir, both pronunciations.
How? I think it is American in Sri Lanka, not British.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought using British more.
No, I can prove it now. Even what commonly what we say. Okay, A and D. It is an, right? We say an in Sri Lanka.
Yes.
British will say on.
Mhm.
They will say on. S-T-A-N-D, stand. We say stand, right? Stand up.
Yes. Yes.
If British is saying, they will say stand.
Ah, really? Then we are using American.
Because British, they pronounce A sound, not A. They pronounce it ah, that, up. It goes up. British, American, they pronounce it A. A sound, A, they pronounce, like tomato. British tomato.
Tomato.
Standing, standing. They will say standing, okay? And a little bit kind of also.
Yeah.
So yeah. So British, nobody speaks here British. It's all American.
But when writing, we are using
But
the
we
British.
say we follow British, no? But we
Yeah,
actually
we say we follow British, but practically American has taken place.
yeah. Yes, sir, correct.
You got it? And when the students, they are doing this Cambridge exams or the Pearson one, there they are allowed to use either of them.
Okay.
You can use either British, they accept both ways. But there is one condition for that. Like if you adopt British way, then you have to write the whole British way. Spellings are there.
Yeah, that's the
Spellings,
thing.
favor, F-O-V-O-R, F-O-V-O-U-R.
Yes.
So if you follow American one, then the rest of the spelling also should follow American.
Ah, right.
It's not that you jumping from here to American and British. So they don't allow in that way. In the Cambridge, I don't know about the local, what's the criteria, but in the Cambridge and Pearson, which was called Edexcel before.
So we write color, the word color also C-O-L-O-U-R, but American.
C-O-L-O-R is the American.
Yes.
So if you write the color C-O-L-O-R, then the rest of the things also you have to write American spelling. It is allowed.
So then what we should teach for the students? C-O-L-O-R.
You are teaching, well, in my opinion, as a teacher, you need to teach both. Because it is not the whole English, there are few things only. Okay? There is a list of you can download from anywhere, American and British, spelling. You can, so that's not the whole lot.
Yeah.
Only a few areas are there. Like, can you believe I tell you one thing, in Candy, I happened to go for an exam, and then a teacher comes up to me and says, see that, sir, these students are using, they don't know even the proper spelling of the center. I said, what happened? They have written the center spelling C-E-N-T-R-E. So I said, that's correct. No, sir, the spelling is C-E-N-T-E-R. I said, that is also correct. Then he's looking at me. I said, this is the difference of the British and the American spelling. So as a teacher, now that particular teacher is conducting O-level classes for the locals. That is what I'm telling you. As a teacher, you people need to have the, knowledge of the American also and the British also. Now, British actually, officially, Sri Lanka officially following British. Officially mean, like if you see the legal documents, the contracts, okay, in the government secretariat and all these offices, they will use British language in the legal way. But when it comes to the social life, in the social life, everything is in American English, because internet and computer, everything is software, these all comes from there. And that is in American one. When we listen to that, all this is American one. That's why practically in Sri Lanka, we have American English, but officially we have British English. Is that clear? And our pronunciation,
Yes, sir.
Sri Lankan pronunciation, it is American mostly. Only we say can't. Can't is we say the way British say, because Americans say can't.
Yeah.
They say can, can't. So we don't say can't here. We say can't. So that is, as Mr. Bandara said, we are mixed. So, but in the mixing also, 90% is American and 10% is British. Okay. So as a teacher of English language, you people need to have this knowledge, because these children, these students, they come up with a different kind of queries, and there are queries in their mind. So you need to update yourself on it and clarify those things for them. All right.
Right.
Okay, so let's go ahead. Control practice, I was asking you people. Control practice activities, you all do that. But the only thing is, the term control practice, you are not using for that. Okay, now let me ask you, are you doing yes and no kind of activity? They have to give the answer yes and no.
Yes.
That is control practice. Are you doing the gap filling with one word?
Yes.
That is control practice. Are you doing multiple choice answer?
Yes.
Control practice. True and false?
Doing.
Control practice. So it is called, that's what is the thing which you people need to improve. Like a lot of things in your teaching you are doing, but what's the appropriate term for that? That's what you learn from here, and in the glossary you can check it, because these are your tools as a teacher. You need to have your toolkit of the language, where you have all these sort of equipment with you, which you can use for the different type of classes and different demands and needs of the student. That's what you need to have. Not unlike the example which I gave you of this one teacher in the Candy, not in the Sussex. It is from outside, but known to me, and he's having his mass classes he's doing for this O-level students. So I said, God bless them. Okay. So unlike that he is confused with the CENTEER and CENTRE. Now these are the common things. You people as an English language teacher, you need to update yourself, and easily you can download these things, are available on the Google. Just see the differentiation, difference of the spelling in the American and British. Lists are there. Take a list, update yourself on these things, because it's important. When you give this kind of updated knowledge to the student, they take interest in it, right? So control practice activities you people do. Now, why I'm telling you, you people need to know these terms, because as a teacher, when you are in the meeting, or with the parents meeting, or with your school meeting, and it comes to your subject, so you can express your opinion in a very professional way. There, in the professional way, when you are using the proper terms for what you do, like for example, you say the language appropriacy is not there. It's a very official way, and using appropriate term for what you are saying. Accuracy is not there. Okay, so these things are very much dealing with the language terms used by the teacher as an expert. So try to learn all these terms and their definitions, okay, and see these terms, what kind of activities are there which you call you this way. That is your knowledge as a teacher. That's your knowledge, and that's your professional knowledge. So learn it for your profession, and when you talk in that way and you express yourself in that way, other person can understand that you have the knowledge of the your subject. And that's the important thing about you as a teacher. When somebody say yes, that teacher, she knows her subject. Okay, right. Mistakes are there. We all are humans. Mistake can happen. It doesn't matter. But update yourself. Nobody is perfect. Everyone has flaws. Everyone can do mistake. That's not matter. But try to update yourself. So control practice activities in classroom we do. What for we do it? In this, we do activities in which the learners are required to repeatedly use the language that they have just been taught. So control practice activities, we do repetition practice also we do with the student. Okay, repeat different kind of words, pronunciation one also, it is involved in that. Okay, so where we particular part of the language we give and we practice that. It can be in the pronunciation as well. It can be in the written. All right. It can be like, you know, different ways you do these activities. And the purpose of that is what? Like a particular part of the language, you want the student to be completely understood by them. They should not do any mistake in it. So you give, for example, gap filling activity with the can and can't. Okay, use can and can't. So they have to use either these two of that and they have to see the sense of sentence. Or you have to use do and does, present simple practice. So those, why you give it? To make sure that the student have understood completely what you have taught them. And by doing these activities, you will have the confirmation of your what you have taught to the student, whether they have understood. So that's why we do control practice activities to affirm that the student have learned it properly. Okay? Right. Make up a large part of speaking practice. These activities includes, now when it comes to the speaking side, in control practice activity, drills. Now you people are doing drills, but do you know you are doing the drills in the classes? Modita?
Yes, sir.
Are you doing drills? Now don't tell that drill is doing outside in the sports. They do the drill. That is also drill. Drills, repetition and saying things learned by heart, things that are memorized. They focus on accuracy in speaking by helping students to use grammar, vocabulary and pronunciation. Drills, there are different individual drills are there, choral drills are there, okay, combined like the whole class drills are there, and the teachers say, mostly in the primary they do it, teacher is saying and they are reading after that. Teacher repeating a word, they are also repeating in order to improve their pronunciation. So different drills are done for different reasons. You can check the glossary, you will find more definition of it also. Right, so let's go ahead to the next page and see what we got there. Right. They can motivate learners, still talking about the drill. What happened with the drill activities, and by heart also you memorize certain things, okay? Repetition of different things you do. What happens with that? They can motivate learners by giving them confidence. Why? Because they practice a lot of that. So when they practice more, they become more confident in speaking that. What they are saying is right. Control practice activities provide useful, if limited, preparation for speaking, as they do not give practice in fluency, interaction, or successfully communicating a message. Now, control practice activities give you part of the practice of language. It is not helping your fluency or interaction or communicating in your, so that is not helping for that. For the fluency purposes, interaction and communication purposes, it doesn't help you, but they make confident the student in particular part of the language. Is that clear to you? Or confused?
Can you repeat that again?
Yeah, listen it again. See, these control practice activities they are talking about. Okay? In control practice activities or this repetition activities, when we are repeating some of the things or we memorizing some of the things. Okay? This is what they talk on the previous page, right? You have your books.
Yes, sir.
Okay. These three things they mentioned there, right? So what happens with the control practice activities in the classroom? They can motivate learners by giving them confidence. Now, for example, A word is there, beautiful, and they practice it beautiful, 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 beautiful. They practice it, they learn the word, they can say it. All right. But it does not mean that they can say the word beautiful, they can communicate well also in the speaking. Why? When you are communicating, there are a lot of other things are involved in it. Not only one word saying beautiful or repetition of particular things they have done. Are you getting the point?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's what they are telling you. Control practice activities give them confidence in particular area of the language practice, but it does not give them the practice of fluency, interaction, or successful communication methods. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay,
For
yes.
those things, we have different other activities. All right. That's what you people have to differentiate. You have to make it. Control practice activities are done for these things. Now, fluency and interaction, there are different other activities are done. Next point coming, see here, fluency. Fluency activities allow learners to choose the language they use to speak. Now we come to the fluency. Why? Because the previous one is not helping anything in fluency. They include tasks such as information gap activity, problem solving, project work, discussions, explaining solutions. All these tasks involve learners in communicating new information with one another. As they speak, learners need to try to get their message across to one another. These activities give learners the opportunity to practice communication, interaction, and fluency. Is it clear now? Is it clear?
Okay, sir. Yeah.
In the previous one, control practice activity, it is good to give confidence to the student in particular part of the language, but it does not help with the fluency, interaction, and discussions and communication. All right. But in the next point, they tell us when we want to practice fluency, communication on those practices, so then we can do information gap activities. Check in the glossary, you will find the definition of it. Problem solving activities, check in there, you will have that, okay, what type of activities, project work, discussions, explaining solutions. You know, these kind of tasks when we give, they interact with each other in it. They speak on it. I tell my opinion, another say their opinion, then we discuss it and it's going on. With that, we improve what? Our fluency, our interaction, our communication, that's improved with these activities. Is that clear now?
Yes, sir.
So these are the two different types of activity which build up different skills in the student. Right. Next one is pair and group work increase the opportunity for communication in the classroom. As more people speak, then if just one learner is speaking to the teacher while the rest of the class listens. Now they say pair work. You put a student in pairs or group work, okay? It gives opportunity to communication, to talk to each other in the classroom, rather than one student who is interacting with the teacher. That's not that much efficient how much you put the student in pairs or in groups and put them to talk to each other on different topics. That improves their speaking ability of the communication much better. In bigger classes and in class that they are not used to working in pairs and groups, the teachers may need to introduce these activities carefully to make sure learners see the point of them and make good use of them. Sometimes if you happen to teach in a bigger class, like 40 students are there, 50 students are there, then you have to plan it, that how to do these interactive and communication activities over there. With the like standard class is 15 to 20 students, but we can't predict that sort of thing. Like, you know, in these government schools, there are, you know, 40, 45, and sometimes more than that, you know, and mass classes after O level and A level, which they have more students. So that you have to plan for that, how to do the pair and the group activities. Right. Next one is in control. Again, coming to control practice. In control practice activities, the teacher usually correct learners' accuracy, as accuracy is the purpose of these activities. Now, here the point lies that in the control practice activity, our point to be clear to the student is the accuracy. Accuracy deals what? With the grammar. So when we do control practice activity, we try to improve their accuracy in that. This is another point you have to note down in the list of the control practice activities. What are the purpose? So purpose is to improve the accuracy. Right. Influency activities. Now, accuracy activities is one way. Fluency activities are in different way. Influency activities, it is advisable not to correct learners immediately. Now, try to understand this point, okay? When you are doing accuracy practice in form of control practice activities, there you have to pinpoint the things the student are making mistakes and clear it up. Because the purpose of that is that grammatically they should be correctly speaking. Are you getting this point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Keep that, note it down, okay? Do not mix these two. But on the other hand, if you happen to do the fluency practice, you want to make the student fluent in speaking, then there, do not do correction immediately. This point, a little bit, I want to clear it further. Students are doing discussion. Okay, you have given a discussion activity and they are discussing with each other. The teacher is standing there or listening to them. They do some mistake there in the speaking. Some grammatical mistakes are there. Some pronunciation mistakes are there. Don't do the correction immediately, as you do in the control practice. Why? Because when the fluency practice is going on, interrupting them for the correction will make discontinuity in their mind. They will not be able to practice their fluency. Are you getting this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We teachers have the habit of correcting the student very often. A little bit mistakes happen, we just point out that. Then and there we clear it. No. In fluency activities, communication activities, spoken language practices, you have to hold back your correction. Okay? When they finish that, later on you can explain to that to avoid this kind of mistake in speaking, say it like this. That you can do after the activity is finished. But when they are in the fluency activities going on, let them to practice that, because the purpose is not accuracy, the purpose is fluency. This point is clear to you?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So never do this mistake. Otherwise, the student will not be able to become fluent in speaking. Right. In this way, learners are given the opportunity to focus on communicating their message. The teacher can note down mistakes and work on them with the class after the activity. Harida? Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So, because speaking is such a complex skill, learners in the classroom may need a lot of help in preparing for speaking. As you have seen, how many things are involved in the speaking as compared to the rest of the skills of the language. So they say the learners have to do a lot of things in order to improve their speaking or preparation they do. For example, practice of necessary vocabulary. What kind of vocabulary is needed for the going on a trip? One type of vocabulary is needed. For doing a sports thing, another vocabulary. Going to a market, a different vocabulary is needed. All right. So different types of birthdays, there are different vocabularies needed. For everything, you need a different type of vocabulary. Time to organize their ideas and what they want to say, practice in pronouncing new words and expression, practice in carrying out a task before the speaking freely, or teachers may prefer to ask learners to carry out tasks and then focus on language problems afterward. Some experts believe that focusing on language after rather before a task makes learners more interested in learning about the language. Now, this point noted here. This is experts of the language, they say. They believe that focusing on language after rather than before a task makes learner more interesting in learning about the language. About the speaking, whenever you are doing the speaking practice, so focusing on the language correction, it should be done after the task. Don't fix their mind that to the correct errors, avoid this kind of errors. When you fix their mind about it, then they can't speak. Fluency cannot happen then. Then they are stuck. Why? Because you engage their mind on the errors also. So now they cannot speak freely. You restricted their free speech. So let them to freely talk on a topic, whatever way it comes in their mind, it's fine. That's what is needed for the speaking. That's how they learn speaking, you know. So when you experts say you focus on the accuracy correction of the language after the task, not before that. Before, if you tell them, then they are scared. Okay, teacher has told and they have to avoid those mistakes that is on their mind, and they are with the double mind they are practicing. They should be free mind practicing the fluency. Is that clear?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go next what they say. Learning about the language as it helps to see the purpose of focusing. Okay. Next point, learners, especially beginners and children. Now coming towards the primary and preschool, okay? Especially beginners and children. Beginners are the preschool and the other comes in the grade 1, 2, 3, primary one, may need time to take in and process all the new language they hear before they produce it in speaking. Now, those children, because it's their second language, they need time to process that in their mind before producing it. So they cannot be very quickly picking it up, okay? In some classrooms, especially primary ones, learners are allowed a silent period at the beginning of a course so that they have time to listen to and process the language first. Silent period is the time when the children are taking before producing the language. So they think, they process the language, and sometimes it takes a lot of time. Sometimes it takes, as the age goes high, the silent period is reducing. So the silent period we will discuss in the next coming topics also a lot, but it's the time taken by the learner while processing the language before producing it. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So as they say, you have to be patient with the children in the beginning stage and in the primary stage about the language production, because they may take more time to produce the language because process their cognitive skill, which we call cognitive skill. Cognitive skill is when they are processing the language, their understanding is less developed, okay? So that's why they take more time to process it as a children, right? Next one is the activities in speaking lesson often follows this pattern. Now, how we do the activities? Lead in. You need to know what lead in activities are. Check in the glossary, definition and Lead-in activities will be there, warmers will be there, okay, and icebreaker will be there. Different types of activities are there. In introduction to the topic of the lesson plus activities including a focus on the new language. So you give a kind of activity, what the topic you are going to discuss with the student, there is a reference to that. That kind of activities are lead-in activity. Before starting the task. Practice activities are tasks in which learners have opportunities to use the new language. These activities may move from control to freer activities, or teacher may choose to do them in the opposite order, depending on the class and the learning context. Now try to understand this point. Here they say, practice activities. Lead-in is done before the main. Now when we started teaching them the language, what happens in that? Learners have opportunity to use the new language. So for that, what they do? Why? Because it's a class, language class, they have to learn new language. These activities may move from control to freer activities. Control practice, you understood. Okay? In control practice, as the name is control, so the teacher is controlling the activity. Student, they do not have much choice to use the language from their side in the control practice activity. But when it comes to freer activities, compared to the control practice activity, in the freer activities, the student has a bit more choice to use language freely. Okay? So in that, for example, I give you an example, because this will not be clear without an example. You are asking a student to write a letter to your friend and mention that to join you in the summer camp, which is going to be held on this day. It's about this particular thing, and invite him to join you in the summer camp. Now, they have given you what you have to write about. So only those points they give you, the teacher gave. But how to say those points, you have the freedom of using the language. So it is called freer activity. Freer activity means which you have a bit more freedom compared to the control practice activities to use the language. There you know?
Yes, sir.
No.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Sure.
Sure.
I thought it will not be that much easily understood. It will take a bit time to see the control practice and the freer activities difference. Anyhow, in unit 17, we will discuss in detail control practice, freer, free, okay, all these activities with examples. So no worries. So for the time being, just if that much you have understood, it is more than enough. Right, depending on the class and the learning classroom. Right, so control practice and freer activities. Sometimes they do control practice first and freer activities after that. And if there is adults, the classes of the adults, they may do the freer activity first and the control practice later on. It depends, that's what they are saying, depending on the class and the learning context to change the opposite order. Right. Third, post-task activities. Once the task is over, activities in which learners do free speaking activity on the topic and work on the language used in the task. Now, the third one is free activity. So we get here three types of activity. One is control practice activity, where students have very less choice of using the language. Like true and false, they have to either say true or false. Yes and no, they have to say yes or no. One gap, multiple choice, only three are there. Out of that one they have to put. They cannot put something else from anywhere else. Okay. So those kind of activities are control practice activities. But when you come, the second one, which I gave you the example of writing a letter to your friend, mentioning these points. So there you are bound to mention those points, but you are free to use the language of your own to talk about those points. So they are called freer activities compared to the controlled one. Now the third one which is here mentioned is free activity. Free activity means you give them open discussion. Okay, discuss about arranging a birthday party. So then you have not given any kind of, you just give a topic and everyone is talking about how to arrange a birthday party or how to arrange a class party. So you have not spoken that what are the things to mention. So everyone is giving freely, using the language freely. They are talking about whatever comes in their mind about the class party. Some may say we are going to have a musical one. Some say, okay, we need to eat some games in that. Some say, okay, we have to arrange the food in this way. Different people will give their opinion. Some will say we will arrange it in the classroom. Some will say we will arrange it out somewhere in the park. Depends. Why? Because you have given the free choice to them. That is called free activities. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Amali? Amali,
Yes, sir.
is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Who else is there? Amali. Dimasha?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Okay. Ashini Fernando is there? Ashini?
Clear, sir.
Okay, fine. So these
Clear, sir.
types of activities we will be discussing in the coming units. Reference will be coming of that. So keep in mind what they are. And then for the different things, different types of activities, and it will be mentioned what type of task we do. Time to time, I will be telling you, you have to make your notes accordingly, okay? Right, so now let's go to the next one. Reading, listening, and integrated skill lessons. Lessons combining use of several language skills. Integrated skill, where you are not using one skill. Like the primary teachers, they teach integrated subjects. What do we say? In the primary, you're supposed to teach integrated subject, mean you're not teaching one subject. Primary teachers are teaching different subjects. So that is called integrated teaching. So here they say integrated skills, mean not one skill. There might be reading, writing, listening, speaking, all the skills, or 2 skills or 3 skills might be together. Also give opportunity for speaking practice as learners focus on language before the text and discuss the topic, its topic. And then after that, they have worked on understanding the text. They can go on to do speaking activities related to this topic. So like integrated skill, as we discussed before also, you do listening part, and after that, what you listen, you can talk about it, you can write about it. All right, you do a reading part and then you discuss with the class, everyone. So that is integrated skills. Like you are doing one skill practice and along with that, you do another skill practice also. Is it clear? These type of activities also you can involve in the speaking practice, like listening and then speaking, reading and then speaking. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right, so I think we'll take a short break and motivation we are going to start for the next one, and I'm going to close down this session. So I'm going to send you another link because this recording will be completed for one topic. And if I don't discontinue the meeting, then it will go 2 topics in one. Then it's complicated to segregate and send to the, those who are not present today. So I will be closing down and then I'm sending you the next link, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right.